You think this is a joke? You listen to what happened to this guy. You keep going into the woods with zero knowledge. You will pay the price. You think this is some joke? I won't be watching that stupid.
Let's talk something about controlled burns in Sam Houston National Forest. I keep noticing every year that we have these annual controlled burns that usually take place inside these national forests, usually sometime around September, October timeframe. And there's not that many of them sometimes because they may have some engineered droughts because they're constantly using HAARP, HAARP. And what HAARP is that weather modification weapon that's designed to basically stimulate the atmosphere to create drought conditions. In fact, they've been using this thing against third world countries going on for quite some time. And HAARP is being used over Texas, causing droughts throughout the United States, drying up rivers, things like that, drying up underground, water aquifers, things like that. So these control burns, let's discuss these control burns. These control burns, they said, is designed to create habitat for woodpeckers. Well, here's the thing. I am not convinced that control burns are for woodpeckers. You see, most people do not hike in the very hot summer months. Hiking really picks up at the end of September and about mid-October before hunting season starts in Sam Houston National Forest. Hiking warriors and these trail goers cannot handle the heat, but they can handle the mileage. So usually camping picks up in all these campsites throughout the entire country. Some of them a little bit sooner, probably in the month of September. Some of them sooner, probably a little bit later on in the hot climates down here, Louisiana, down here, Florida, Alabama, the southern regions of California, things like that, these areas. So they're claiming that if they burn down a certain amount of trees, that the trees will grow back and basically open up the ground areas to create better habitat for woodpeckers. I am not convinced that this is going on. The woodpecker population, since I watch birds, is doing quite well. I've seen out here in Montgomery County a lot of woodpeckers flying around. And like I said, I do believe in protecting birds. And I believe that the woodpecker population is doing quite well. But I just don't believe that they're burning down Sam Houston National Forest to create a habitat for woodpeckers. What I believe is going on is that the control burns are designed to basically run the cryptids away because the deer season starts and the deer are in the national forest, and these Sasquatch and Dogman creatures are migratory, and they come down from up north and they come down to cooler climates to hunt deer for a living because they rely on deer for a food source, and they also rely on feral hogs for a food source. But they prefer deer, is what other researchers in some of these other podcasts have mentioned, that they prefer deer. So the Sasquatch usually start running into humans, and the Dogman start running into humans and campers and hikers in the fall months because they migrate down south because the temperatures are cooler and they prefer the cooler temperatures, and the deer are in a rut and they're on the run. So I believe that the control burns are designed to run off cryptids, to keep them off the camping trails, to basically create conditions, to keep them out of the area, to keep them away from campers, to avoid run-ins and basically attacks from Dogman, rakes, and squash and Sasquatch type cryptids on campers and people inside forest. So I believe that this is really what's going on with the control burns. I believe that there's something more to it going on because we've actually been out in Sam Houston National Forest and look at some of these areas. They've lit a lot of forest on fire. And they have signs out there that says avoid starting fires in national forest. But while they're trying to conserve the national forest and avoid fires, they're actively going out there lighting the forest on fire, which doesn't make any sense to me. So a lot of these environmental wackos and these tree huggers out there about save the trees, even they're freaking the heck out trying to figure out what's going on. We hunters, are trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Hikers are trying to figure out what the heck is going on. It just doesn't make any sense. So I believe that this is designed to keep cryptids out of the areas, to run them off in the fall during deer season, to avoid contact with the general populace, to prevent people from getting killed. They don't want people getting killed by cryptids because it's not easier for them to just cover it up and just say it's just been a mountain lion attack. So we have to take that into consideration. You see, these controlled burns are not taking place anywhere else. It just seems like they just keep happening in the Sam Houston National Forest for some reason. But to get a better idea of what's actually going on, there is a Dogman, Vic Condiff of Dogman Encounters, one of my favorite, Dogman channels, mentioned he had interviewed a gentleman that lives out here in Montgomery County in Conroe, and that gentleman is on Dogman Encounters 50. And he talked about what's really going on in the Sam Houston National Forest. I highly recommend that you listen to Dogman Encounters 50 by Vic Condiff to interview that gentleman to give you an idea of what's really going on in the Sam Houston National Forest, to get some other intel, not just from me, but hear it for yourself. Something really serious is going on in that forest. And like I've said before, as hunters, in my last video, we are constantly going out into national forests, and the more we hunt and the further we go and the deeper that we penetrate inside these national forests, we've gone in 2 miles, 3 miles. Some hunters are getting so serious, they're looking for deer, they're going in 5 miles in by themselves. And when you go in that far, you're putting yourself in a serious amount of trouble and increasing your vulnerability, especially if you go out there by yourself. And a lot of us, a lot of hunters are not like guys like me, where you're like an older hunter in your 50s that are walks regularly, bike rides regularly, lift weights. I'm a former, bodybuilding guy. I mean, I'm in top shape and I can walk miles, carry a backpack. I could grab a deer, quarter up a deer. I could drag a freaking deer right off the national forest all the way back out to the campsite, report the harvest, all that. This is a capability of older, in-shape hunters. So the cool thing about hunting is that you get to explore a lot of public land, which you don't normally get to do during the summer months. And we find hiking boring as hunters. So we like to hunt and go out into national forests during hunting season, but we just keep noticing these areas and these controlled burns, that these are not natural fires. I mean, natural fires have occurred in Sam Houston National Forest. A few did happen in 2022, but these controlled burns, these are not controlled burns. These are deliberately being set on fire to control something else. Because they even warn people, we're doing a controlled burn. Don't call the fire department because we are doing a controlled burn. Isn't that interesting? I thought you guys may find this a little interesting. Okay, that's it for now.
For the dangerous, you think this is some joke. You keep going into the woods with zero knowledge, you will pay the price. You think this is some joke. Into the woods with zero knowledge, you will pay the price.